Well, I'm here with Doug from Sagawa's Nursery up in Woodland, Washington. And Doug, at this time of year, we're all thinking about our gardens, preparing for, late fall and winter. But there's some specific things we need to be considering with our ponds as well. So let's just start where, let's start at the edges where our bog plants are and go from there.
Well, one of the biggest things we want to make sure of is we want to limit our amount of maintenance in the pond next springtime.
Yeah.
So by doing a few things now, we can actually eliminate a lot of problems and a lot of headache next spring. One of the biggest things as we first start getting our first frosts and first cold weather, a lot of our water plants are going to start dying back. They're going to start showing different discoloration, as you can see with this iris here.
Yeah.
And they'll continue to die on back. With our floating plant material, as we get colder and colder, usually after the second frost, we want to remove these guys. Otherwise, what will happen is this will go to mush and end up in the bottom of the pond, which will then cause actually algae blooms, lots of floating garbage and debris next springtime. So if we can remove that, prior to that doing that, we can stop that maintenance issue.
And since this specific floater is technically an annual anyway, so you'd want to be aware of that and remove it.
Correct.
Anyway.
A lot of your water plants, as far as the floaters are concerned, are annuals.
Yeah.
And most all of them are deciduous. So they're going to be dropping all of their stuff at this time of the year as we get colder and colder. This is a water lettuce here. Water hyacinths would be another one that we're going to want to do the same thing with. Frog bit would be another one. There's also azolla and fairy moss and duckweed.
So as long as if it's floating, general rule of thumb, get it out.
We want to remove it out of there. As far as our bog and marginal plants, what we want to do with these guys after the first or second frost, we want to prune them all the way down and grim out all of this material, as you can see here, so that it doesn't again end up in the bottom of the pool.
Sure.
We want to cut that maintenance issue is what we're after. So after the first, second frost, we're going to go ahead and just groom it right down to the top of the pot, and you're good to go for winter.
So even if the frost or a freeze doesn't kick it back itself, you still want to cut the green stuff down just to clean it up.
Yeah. And you know how our weather goes.
Yep.
1 minute we're good, we're looking really good, we're warm, we get a frost, and then we warm back up again, and then we go cold again.
Let's have a barbecue, and then it snows.
So I usually say after the second frost is usually when we want to go ahead and start doing all that stuff. So once we've pruned this stuff back and removed a lot of the floating material, we want to net the pond. And one of the reasons why we want to net the pond is we want to stop all the deciduous leaves from all the deciduous trees around our pond, or even in your neighbor's yard, from ending up in your pond.
Yeah.
Again, we go back to maintenance. If we can prevent it from ending up in the pond, we can actually solve a lot of issues later on.
And leaves, just like the plants, would eventually sink to the bottom and cause all kinds of
Yep,
problems.
they'll sink to the bottom and decompose. Depending on the type of tree, too, you will actually create tea. Some trees will actually leave a tannin in the water, and the water will actually turn that color.
Oh, wow.
So if we can keep them from getting in there, again, we can.
It's all the easier for you.
On the nets, when we put a net over the top of the pond, we do want to remove the leaves after a while so that they don't pile up on top of it and cause a lot of weight and have them sink them down to the bottom of the pond.
Then you're just defeating the purpose of netting it.
Yep. Right. And if you got fish down in there, it's going to trap those guys down in the pond, and we don't want to do that. All kinds of great nets out there, different sizes. There are actually some really good quality nets that you can buy that will last for years.
Okay.
So that'd be a really good thing.
And this, I'm assuming, is just to clean out the bite
This
base.
is a great tool for cleaning out the pond. One, we have a small rake on one end of it, so if we need to kind of rake things out of the pond, it does really well with it. If we don't need to use the rake, we can go like that, and it's got an extending handle.
Nice. Now, for those few people that do have a lot of fish in their ponds, give us a quick assessment on the food thing.
So one of the biggest things we have to worry about with our koi is we want to make sure we're feeding the right type of food right now.
Yeah.
Which
changes with the time of year.
Correct. Water temperature. Their metabolism is directly linked to the temperature of the pond. As we get colder, they slow down.
Yeah.
So if we're feeding that high protein food or color enhancement food that we were doing all summer into the fall, they can't digest it very well. Okay, so what we want to do, number one, we want to put a thermometer in the pond. And one of the reasons why we put a thermometer in the pond is we want to make sure of what the temperature is for the fish. Okay, we don't want it to be too cold and we start keep feeding our fish.
Yeah.
Typically, when we hit about 45 degrees, we want to stop feeding altogether. Okay. At this point in time of the year, we want to look at feeding an easy digestible food. So wheat germ-based food is what we want to look for. And I've got a couple of different brands here, or products here, Hikari being the main one here, and it's a wheat germ-based food. Okay. The reason why, again, we shoot for a wheat germ, easy digestible, helps fatten them up for the winter, and gets them nice and healthy.
Good.
Okay? So it's really good for the fish, okay? You can also do a sinking food, because a lot of times at this time of the year,
They're going to go down low.
they're going to go down low, and if the water temperature is still within our 45-degree range, we can still feed.
So that would
a
be-
lot of cases, we're actually suggesting that they mix a sinking food with a floating food. So if any of the other fish that, some will come up and feed and some may not,
Yeah.
this will get all of them, okay? And then in your hands there, I've got a higher end food. And the idea with this food is it actually blends enzymes and bacteria with the food itself for faster digesting. So in actuality, you're going to get about 40 to 50% more digestibility out of the food, so that means less waste in the water. So less issues with
And
the pond.
just means the pond is going to be cleaner ultimately.
Pond's going to be cleaner, the fish are going to be healthier, they're going to be able to digest their food much quicker.
Well, I know that for a lot of people, ponds do seem to be overwhelming, but I can guarantee you if you make a quick trip up here to Woodland, Washington at Saskawas, talk to Doug and the great staff here, they can get your ponds and help you get them completely ready for wintertime. Thank you so much, Doug.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure.
Yep.